back. What up? Welcome to another episode of the Back of the Class podcast. I am the Esteban Serrano. Happy to be back with my boys.
He's alive.
Can we just address that really quick? First of all, obviously, Zach Dionne is here, and Juan Cadavid is around here as well. But I am alive, ladies and gentlemen. I know my eulogy was read on this podcast.
I never noticed how it sounded until I actually heard it back, and I was like, I'm making it sound like Esteban was like kidnapped.
Come on, man.
No longer with us.
Look, I was in London for the Brit Awards. Had a lot of fun. Spent a lot of pounds.
Oh.
But I'm happy to be back. But as soon as I got back, I got sent out to the Strange Music Compound in Kansas City. And I was there for the last episode. So the last two, I've been MIA, but I'm back. And I'm very happy to be back with my bros. We got a lot of dope stuff to talk about today.
Yes, we do.
There's tons and tons and tons.
Loads.
Of not only new music, but good hip-hop music to talk about today.
We're flooded.
Word.
One of which we'll go into more detail. The Kendrick Lamar untitled, unmastered album was amazing. We also will answer a Twitter question that we got hit up on.
First time.
Yeah, man. And, of course, some sports news. Peyton Manning is retiring, so we got to talk about that. But before we get any further into this podcast, we are recording this on March 9th. And that is the day that the greatest rapper of all time was taken from us. Biggie Smalls died March 9th, 19 years ago.
Yeah. Everyone remembers where they were when they first heard that news.
Man, I cried like Juan when he watched Creed.
Hey, man, I'm not ashamed of that, all right? But I did not cry when Biggie died. I was upset, but I didn't cry.
So anyway, let's just take some time in your week to just go listen to some Biggie, man, and just reminisce about the greatest, why he was the greatest, why he was so influential and so important. And I promise you, you will not be disappointed.
And if you don't agree that he's the greatest, that's fine. But, like, at least why he's in that conversation. Right. Always in that conversation.
Yeah, always.
So, do yourself a favor.
All right, so new music, Zach. Build it. Talk to us. Break it down for the people.
Oh, my God. Well, so when Kendrick Thursday night, very quickly it built from, like, is he going to drop something to he's going to drop something to the something is here. And it was, we were already all getting ready to listen to 2 Chainz and Lil Wayne in the morning. Right. And we're still listening to Pablo, I think we're 5 days away from it having been out for a month. And yeah, it's just everything. There's still smaller albums that I'm listening to from January, from December, from October.
So much good music.
Been a lot of flux of
people cannot complain that there's a drought or that there's not any real hip hop, man. So I don't know. I've got to listen to the 90s and listening to Wu-Tang and stuff. It's like, yo, you clearly are not doing your homework. You're not out here trying to discover this stuff.
There's so much, yeah, and this is definitely the best kind of problem to have. I mean, it's not stressful like when your Netflix queue is building up to 150 items and you're just behind and you're running around with your hands over your ears worried about spoilers for the latest movie. It's just like the music is going to be there for you. I like when the new kind of overall sound starts to emerge within the culture and you can start to shuffle and you can start to make playlists. You can start to see, like, I love seeing how Jumpman goes into this new 2 Chainz Lil Wayne song, Bounce, or, how these Kendrick songs, like, flow into these Kanye songs. I love that shit.
What's ill, too, is, like, so we have a lot of good music out right now, but I've been on a kick lately just trying to listen to stuff that I wouldn't normally listen to. Not, like, the obvious humor, like Pablo. I sat with that for a week, and it's great, and I will definitely revisit it. And it's kind of cool to kind of like know that this is such a good thing. Like I didn't even dive all the way in. I want to dive over here, and I've been listening to Bossy.
Okay.
That's how he pronounces it, and that's what they call him on the album. But he's J. Cole's protege, signed to Dreamville. He's a Queens native, I believe. His album is called Too High to Riot. and it's dope. It's a really dope album. He is in the lyrical lane class, if you will, of a J. Cole in terms of being very lyrically savvy, very dope as an MC. But sonically, it's kind of like dreamy. It's a dope album, man. And I would have never in a million years listened to, just because he really wasn't on my radar. It just so happened. I'm like, yo, everyone's listening to the big joints. I want to find out what I might be missing. And I found him, and he's great.
Yeah, I saw he dropped a video a couple of days ago, and I checked it out, and it was pretty good. I had heard of him because a couple of weeks ago, I think, when J. Cole dropped the Dreamville album, his name was the one you saw the most.
Yeah.
From like all the headlines.
He popped out on that for me too, yeah.
So after I listened to that, I'm definitely a fan. I'm going to start. Like, what I like to do is when I see somebody I'm not familiar with that's new, I usually just go back.
Right.
And just listen to the earlier stuff. That's just me. I just like to see if they've always been that type of rapper or if they switch their style to get to that notoriety where I'm discovering them. You know what I'm saying? I'm definitely feeling his stuff though.
Isn't it just spelled B-A-S?
Yeah, it's just B-A-S.
And on it, E sound at the end
on
there
it that he's always like, it's Bossy or something like that.
Could it be because he's French?
Bossy,
he was born in Paris, so I don't know if maybe it's like a.
I think that's like a nickname for him, but I've never heard his name pronounced, so
Bossy,
I'm not gonna. Yeah. Cool. He always has like.
And he's popped up on so much of Cole's stuff,
right?
Over the years too.
Right.
Yeah, I've been doing some of the smaller stuff too, and just kind of the mid-level stuff. Like Juan recommended the Justice League album, which I didn't realize that's the only Justice League album.
Yeah.
Yo, them boys.
It's from January, right?
Yeah.
It's unstoppable.
It's
I'm not gonna say it's a shame that it's getting buried in all this big stuff because that's just there's room for one or two big rap things to be dominating the conversation at a time. But oh my god, yeah, you were so right, Juan.
And everyone's on that record. Like, I mean, you name them,
it's like a DJ Khaled.
Yeah, they're
like
mostly
roster.
in there. And the beats, I mean, if you listen to Rick Ross and you've been following Rick Ross, and basically everybody from MMG, if you ever wonder why he is where he is, it's because these guys produce most of his shit up until now, and their production is just. It's definitely in a higher echelon of hip hop producing in the game. So.
And I feel like what Justice was so dope about Justice League too is they can produce anything.
Yeah.
Like, big like Aston Martin music is a Justice League production, down to like some stuff that sounds like Dr. Dre or like some even DJ Premier type stuff. Like the three of those dudes at one time in the same studio is the scariest thing you will ever hear, man.
And it's one of the best
amazing
names for a fucking
Justice
crew,
League.
Especially for Juan.
Yeah, especially for me. So,
so what do you guys think about how this year is keeping up with last year? Because the early months of 2015, it was especially at 2014 was kind of dry and kind of disappointing round-wise, and then beginning of 2015, it was like Surprise Kendrick, A$AP Rocky, Ray Shremmerd, Big Sean, Kanye song.
That Sean record didn't get as much props.
And it was amazing. It was
which one?
Big Sean's album.
Yeah, I'm still bumping that. Songs from that album. I agree, man. I mean, so far, and when we talked about this before we started, like, I love Kendrick. I've always loved Kendrick. I just feel like me personally, I'm getting a little, not tired, but I feel like it's getting oversaturated with his stuff. I've heard some tracks from the Untitled, Unmastered. I like what I heard, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to put this on the side and listen to it later when it's not all up in my face. Like, yo, you got to listen to it. It's the greatest thing ever since Pimp a Butterfly. Yo, Kendrick this, Kendrick that. I just need a little break from Kendrick.
Yeah.
That's just me personally. I don't know if you guys agree.
But that's the type of listener Juan is, though.
Yeah, I'm very streaky.
When you got with all this music, I mean, you got to pick what you're going to take breaks from and when it's going to be the right time to come back to something. But do you guys feel that feeling of last year of just like, oh my God, this year is going to be unreal, and it already is?
Oh yeah,
I feel like we got to like the internet era where everybody and their grandma had to drop something. Remember it was like, Timbaland had Thursdays and Swizz Beats was on this day and, Good Music Friday. Like it was so much music. Lil Wayne had like 100 songs in one year.
It was
like
more
it was
quantity over
too
quality.
much. But like I feel like now it's starting to kind of filter itself out. They're starting to really know how to like kind of coexist and release music, or at least we've kind of refined our taste to certain things. Like we don't have to get on everything. We don't have to listen to everything. Yeah. I feel like it's starting to become way more palatable now.
Next month is Drake month too. If he holds to it, he said April. So
damn, see?
That's going to be crazy.
Danny Brown's already put like he tweeted that he played his whole album for Alchemist. Oh. So his album's coming any day now.
Okay, good. Because they were saying like fall 2016.
I mean, I'm not putting a date on it, but if he's saying that he just played it for Alchemist, obviously something's getting toward the end of being done. Hopefully, because I'm a huge Danny Brown fan.
It doesn't seem like a Danny Brown album is something you need like 6+ months of advance notice on. You know,
especially when you know he's been working on it for like last almost 2 years.
Word.
So, old is so good.
and just for the sake of conversation, like I mean, this Remy Martin freaking Fat Joe record. Like,
you guys got to see Esteban's face.
Yo,
it's an album, right?
It's an album, but they dropped one record and it's so hard.
I was gonna say, is it just 10 lean back remixes?
So, well, they did say that they're attempting every record on this album is going to be like they made it with the intention of it being a hit record. Like they didn't go in to make a backpack rap album. It's not like if Pun was A&R and like it's not that type of album. But just the thought of.
I like it. It's new. It's a
Remy back.
I just like that it's a night
with Terror Squad,
a female rapper and a male rapper doing a joint album.
Oh, yeah.
That isn't.
I think it's dope.
I mean, besides the Fugees, I mean that's the only thing I can think of about where like two male and female rappers.
But I'm just saying, like,
album.
there's so much. There's the traditional stuff we're having to look forward to with with Kanye and with Danny Brown. But then it's like the stuff that throws you a curveball, like this Lil Wayne, 2 Chainz situation, and now there's Remy, Fat Joe for all us old farts who love that type of music.
There's gonna be a lot of weird stuff coming down the line. That's gonna be gonna be good. Yeah.
And for all that stuff, there's gonna be tapes that you don't even get to or even knew came out.
Right.
Because they come, like mixed.
You'll have to rediscover.
Yeah. So
something about that male female thing just makes me want to shout out the Run the Jewels song with Gangsta Boo from Run the Jewels too.
Oh yeah.
Gangsta Boo,
my
man.
God, that song. Yeah. I listened.
On a later podcast, we're gonna get into
We're gonna start Jules in.
We're gonna start talking about the ladies,
female,
man.
Yeah, coming up,
killing it.
We
got
it. We're gonna have a big talk.
We'll
about
chop
a lot
that
of
up in the
MCs that we
future.
like. Yeah.
Are we gonna talk about more Kendrick or?
Yep.
No, we're
after
talking
what
about
I said, we're talking about.
You shut up.
So I'll just
This dude, come on, man. First of all,
Sit in
can
the
we
corner,
give a
Juan.
shout out to someone who is not only running the NBA and is like the GM of the Cleveland Cavaliers, he is also apparently like the A&R rep for like hip hop now. And like LeBron James is the reason why we got this Kendrick Lamar album. Like, are we?
is that legit?
That is legit. He talked to Top Dog and convinced him to release this unreleased music. Dude, that is the most influential man on earth.
Yeah.
Come on, man. That's King James for real. I ain't never called the man King James. He got me a Kendrick Lamar album. He King James now.
Exclusive.
I'm still not calling him that. But
I'm going to just mute your mic for this whole section anyway. So let's talk about this. Yo, Zach, what did you think, man?
I'm still definitely thinking it's gonna take a while, just like Pablo did. It's one of those things where like by the time we have a very intelligent, formed opinion, it's gonna you guys aren't even gonna want to hear it anymore. But yeah, I mean it's very cool, and it's very cool that he did it in this way. And that my favorite thing about it, off the bat, is Kendrick is one of those artists who talks about going in the studio and making like 100 songs. I think he really said 100 songs were made during To Pimp a Butterfly, and it just seems inconceivable. Like I don't know, Esteban, you've spent the most time I think in studios with folks out of all of us.
I've been in the studio with Kendrick as well while he was working on Good Kid, Mad City.
Yeah, and so now
I saw his sessions,
and now you see the receipts. Like he's like, here are eight of those that didn't make it, and that are just so interesting.
I think the night that I was in the studio, and I didn't even stay the whole night, I feel like I saw him touch maybe 3 records that night. One of which I still remember the hook to it was so good, and it wasn't on this, and it wasn't on Good Kid.
Oh wow!
So I'm like, yo. So I know he makes a lot.
Now
of music.
is that I think does that go for a lot of artists or just I think a lot of artists do that.
make a ton of songs?
I think so.
I think it's a certain type of artist. You also got to understand, like, with Kendrick early on, Top Dog kept these dudes out of the street by putting them in the studio. So it was like, that's why like Lil Wayne has to record every day, because when he was coming up at Cash Money, Baby made them spend 8 hours a day in the office.
Right.
So they had to be doing something. So Top Dog kind of had that same mentality with Black Hippies. They always had to be in the studio. That way he could keep an eye on them and he knew that they were being productive. So they're accustomed to, at this point, churning out music left and right. So it's not inconceivable, really, that he would have made 100 records, but like,
the way it feels inconceivable, though, is how elaborate the records are themselves.
Very true.
How does he figure out how to fit into those records? And then he always sounds so polished. I mean, even when he sounds messy, it sounds polished. It's like very intentional. So it's to just imagine him just going in there and just making stuff up at this kind of, with this kind of prolificness.
It's crazy.
Is the content like what he's talking about in line with Pimp a Butterfly, like that type of lyrical content and, you know, commentary, or is it just, does it make sense why did it make that album?
I just think it's in brand with Kendrick Lamar. Like, it's not while it sounds very experimental and raw, it doesn't sound like he was out of his comfort zone or trying anything different.
Sure. I just mean if it's obvious why it didn't make, you know, Pimp a Butterfly.
Not a lot. I mean, other than just that, To Pimp a Butterfly is like, I think it's 20 seconds short of what you can fit on a CD.
Sure.
There's something really new on there, which is, and I'm glad you mentioned Black Hippie, which Kendrick's been so huge for so long, you don't see him mentioned as like Black Hippie member, like former Black Hippie crew member. He is like just being such a Black Hippie on this record. Like that song, it's number 7, which has 3 songs in it basically in 8 minutes, and the last like 4 minutes are him just jamming in a studio, and it makes me think of like Jimi Hendrix so much. It's somebody just like playing a real simple lick on an acoustic guitar, and Kendrick just making shit up as he goes, and it's like, and you hear the other people, they're like giggling because he's saying kind of nonsensical stuff, which is then going to like become a hook and a major part of the record, and you just hear them like shutting the fuck up and watching him like make this up, and oh my god, it like gives me chills.
You know what's so good about that? He's having fun.
Yeah.
And when you're having fun, it doesn't matter what the fuck you're doing, whether it's music or anything. If you're having fun, it's gonna bring the best out of you. So
good point. There's a lot of him having fun on this that probably more than To Pimp a Butterfly. I mean, obviously there's like a lot of creative joy in To Pimp a Butterfly, but also very serious and also very like focused and intense. There's a lot of fun on this. Like he does this Drake flow on the on the end of the second track that people are, you know, wondering like, oh, how. It's this certain moment where he starts doing one of those Kendrick cartoony voices, and it's with the Drake flow, and you know, a flow that very closely resembles Drake over the last like couple of years. But even before that, like a minute or 30 seconds before that, he sounded like it too, and it's like, yeah, he's obviously having fun. Yeah,
which is awesome.
Yeah,
good for him.
And the part he did a song with CeeLo, number 6, and yeah, man. I don't know what you think. What do you think when you hear that? Like,
I think CeeLo probably sings the hook, right? I mean, that's what I would assume. Mind you, I haven't heard it, so I'm just spitballing. But
he's singing quite a bit through it, and it sounds like one of those Pharrell Kendrick songs, and it's just such a good pairing, though. Nobody would have thought of that or guessed it.
CeeLo adds a lot of stuff to records, man. I feel like the stuff where he either sings a hook or he's featured on. Like I think he always does a good job when he features on. Like I always think of the Slaughterhouse record.
Yeah.
And when I first heard Slaughterhouse and CeeLo, I was like,
this is gonna be
that's
horrible.
weird.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I heard the hook and I'm like, that shit makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And it wasn't too much and it wasn't too little. It was just perfect. So
well, CeeLo's had his own spotlight for long enough that you kind of forget who he worked with and like who he came up with.
That he's a part of the Dungeon family.
Yeah, and the type of songs that he was a part of. It's like
you never lie. I mean that Goodie Mob first album. I mean, let's forget it. CeeLo had an album that was supposed to come out on Arista Records. It was like 2004, 2005. There's a single that came out. It was called "Call Me." It's CeeLo and Timbaland. That record is so crazy. So like I can never in a million years like doubt a CeeLo feature with anyone. after hearing that record, I'm like, how are these two fools going to act? Yeah. That record was amazing.
You want to hear how I got into Dungeon Family and like all that shit?
How?
One of my favorite movies ever is Mystery Men. You probably haven't seen it.
Never.
Because we all know you're...
No black people in it.
Mystery Man, like Ben Stiller, William H. Macy, Paul Rubens, Janine Garofalo.
Oh, wow.
But the Dungeon Family, like there's like a part in the movie where it's like all the crews from the city, like the gangs, the bad guys basically, and it's like, you know, like the frat boys and like, but they're all gangs, and one of them is it's fucking the Goodie Mob.
Wow.
So, and then that's, I was like, and people were like, oh, Goodie Mob was in Mystery Man. And I was like, I don't know who the hell these people are. And then that's when I started looking it up, and I was like, oh, shit. Cool. And then that's when I got into their music, so.
And they gave us Future.
Thank you, Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
Not that movie, The Dungeon Family.
No.
Yes.
That movie's good, bro.
Word. Now, who else would you like to see release an album in this way? Raw, unreleased, unmastered, just like
that's a good one.
Having fun in the studio, those outakey type like ideas.
Having fun? I feel like having fun is such a weird concept in hip hop because everybody wants to play that fucking straight, you know.
But not just having fun, but
this is a record too, though.
Right.
By the way, like it's a lot of weird pieces, but it really does flow well, and it's put together as a thing. I had a hard time thinking about this question because we knew we were going to talk about it because you know Kanye pretty much just did that,
right?
And Kanye's done it a lot. Drake has done it a lot. The one I came up with was A$AP Rocky, because he did so many ideas on both his albums.
Right.
Yeah.
And
that's a good one.
Especially the last one, he had a lot of those 2 songs within one song. I think if A$AP did this, it would be.
And he has fun.
It would be cool as hell.
I've interviewed him maybe once or twice. Shot with him even more times, and every time he's been like in such a good mood and like he's having a ball and so down to earth. I can imagine his outtakes are probably hilarious.
Yeah. Word.
What about
For
you?
me, I mean, first and foremost, like I am a ridiculous Michael Jackson collector.
Oh.
Of like, you know, so anytime like a 25th or 20th anniversary or 30th album, I'll go get it even if I own it, because at the end, a lot of times they'll have either a song that was supposed to be on the album that wasn't, or they'll have the raw audio of a recording session.
Yeah.
And you hear him like coming up with melodies and stuff like that. So with that kind of in mind, I would want to hear Jay-Z. And I'm not a big Jay-Z fan, but from what I hear, the way he records is kind of like Kendrick was on that, just kind of like the track is looping, and he's filling in blanks, and he's kind of developing the verse as he's recording it. I would love to see out of thin air him create some of these most iconic like lyrics that we've heard.
What do you want it to come from a certain era? Do you want it to be across time?
I mean, for me, it'd have to be like Reasonable Doubt, Cashmere Thoughts, like the Evils, like that first album. Cool. I'm like, how on God's green earth did you put together? Come on, man. I fed her money till her shit started to make sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you not write that down? How do you not think for a long period of time about that line? Like, and that was just like a toss away line. Like, there's so many good lyrics in the Jay-Z vault that I would love to
see a smile on your face talking about Jay-Z.
Yeah, I am the biggest Jay-Z hater, man. I swear. I mean, I give respect. Jay-Z for me is the equivalent to Michael Jordan. Like, I respect his greatness, but I was never a fan of Michael Jordan because my Sixers were never going to win a ring as long as he was in a Bulls uniform.
That's me and Derek Jeter. Respect everything that dude has done in his career. Acknowledge the fact that he's an amazing fucking athlete, but I was never a fan. Mine is Big L. Just because I am one of the biggest marks for Big L, and you could tell on some of his freestyles, the radio freestyles, some of those lines made the announcers like laugh, and you would hear them laugh on the radio. Yeah. So to kind of hear, kind of like what you described with Kendrick, where like the sound is running and you hear people reacting to what he's saying. Yeah. I would love to hear him spit, because his lines, like what Esteban just described about Jay, like Big L had lines like that for days. Yeah. And just to hear people, his own crew react to those lines, like Axe Beavis, like in nothing but head.
Wait. The Punani Vamper, mess around and find my silk boxers in your mommy's hamper.
Yeah. Like
that's devastating.
And the crew he ran with was Cameron, Maze, Buckshot, all those dudes. Like, They were all trying to outdo each other, so all of them in the same room, like, yo, it would be
Children of
fucking
the
magic.
Corn.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother episode.
Harlem's finest.
We're going to do a whole nother episode on
Yeah.
rap crews that never existed that we come on. The Commission?
Cool.
Man, yeah, we'll do
So
that. We'll touch
for
that
me,
on another day.
For me, it's Big L because he's top 5, one of my favorite
That's a
rappers
great one, man.
ever.
All right, well, I got a good segue here, which is on the Kendrick. There is a beat from Young Egypt, Swizz Beatz, and Alicia Keys' son. You're looking at me like you don't know this story yet.
No, I do.
No,
I saw
no,
it.
no.
Yeah, and he made this beat by himself, and it's a
watched
weird
the
beat
video.
like Swizz Beatz' beats.
Word.
I mean, when you got that music in your blood, dude.
Yeah,
like,
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Your mama is like the queen of the piano. Like no one can
Yeah.
tickle the ivories like Alicia Keys.
That is, yeah. He just went straight to the top of like the music kid power rankings.
Word.
But it's also like, you're not surprised. Are you surprised? I'm not surprised.
It just came out of nowhere, and I'm
No,
not
definitely,
surprised at all. No.
Yeah, like when I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
The fact that
their
Kendrick
kid
would rap on it though, to me,
Yeah.
is
And
Now-
he's doing it at 11. Imagine when he's like fucking
Yeah.
18,
Word.
16.
So the reason it's a segue is because we got a question from Bushra, Bushra on Twitter.
Yep.
She's been listening to the podcast. She likes it, and she wanted to know.
shout out.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
We
She
do
said-
look at our Twitter.
Yes.
Oh.
She said, as parents, how much do you find influencing your kids? How much do you find yourself influencing your kids' music/pop culture interests? Do we want to just go around and say what we've got for Spawn here?
Yeah. I'll close out.
Well, me, I have influenced my kid. I have a 8-year-old daughter, and I've influenced her taste in, I guess, TV and not much pop culture, but like I watch a lot of old 90s cartoons. I read a lot of comics. I love 90s movies because that was my era.
Yeah.
And I wasn't necessarily putting her next to me, hey, watch this, you're going to like it. It was just me watching it.
Right.
And she would sit down, and she loves it. She'll watch Wayne's World on Netflix. When she was in her Wayne's World phase. She'll watch Batman, the animated series. She loves Fuller House because she got into Full House.
Yo,
when
my
she
kids
used to
watch that
it on
every
Nick.
night now.
So I didn't directly make her to
Yeah.
each his own, but she loves it, and everything I introduce her to that's 90s centric, she absolutely loves.
Yeah.
So I feel like I had the influence, but I also feel like it might just be in her blood that she just is drawn to that kind of stuff, especially like the more geeky, nerdy stuff. She's getting into video games now where she wasn't really before.
Yeah.
And her number one end-all be-all right now is The Flash on the CW. Like
That's
that's
great.
her.
That is a
Yeah.
Juan's
So-
swimmer right
Yeah.
there in action.
Oh, and she loves wrestling too. Again, never made her sit down and watch it, but she absolutely fell in love
She's
with it.
batting 1,000 with her dad.
Yeah, so that's how. I mean, don't get me wrong. Her music choices are. I'm just like, but it's stuff that I understand because of the radio.
Yeah.
But that's how like I found myself influencing her on with pop culture. So.
How about the flip side? What has she gotten you into?
She's gotten me into like the new the phrases with kids.
Yeah.
And just the fads. Like she just put me onto like this. You probably and you guys had to heard the jelly bean challenge. Have you guys heard about that?
Never.
There's this box of jelly beans, right? And it's so they're all paired up in the same colors, but each one has a different taste. So they have a little wheel, like Wheel of Fortune. You spin it,
Okay.
and it tells you the color. So the color, one of them, you take one, I take the other one. They say they're both black. It's either gonna be blackberry or dog food taste, but you don't know.
So like
'cause
Russian
they're jelly
roulette
beans.
of jelly beans?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And
Never
it's like
played that
the
game.
biggest
Wow.
thing in the.
Have you played?
Oh, dude, we played and like I've had my friends like almost throw up because they've gotten dog food or like booger salad. Like yo, it's ridiculous. And like that's the kind of thing
horrible.
like she's super into that. Shopkins, like all her toys that they're into is the stuff that I'm kind of like, okay, I see.
Cool.
I don't understand half of it why this is interesting to
Yeah.
you, but I'm sure that's how my parents were with me.
There you go. It's such a broad topic because you guys have sports. I don't. It's all music and pop culture for me, all day. So there's so much getting her. I've got a 9-year-old daughter, and I mean, I'll say the flip side first, which is her kind of guiding me, which is I kind of was a pop music snob for a long time, and just since I was probably in middle school from that point forward, I just didn't give it, I would just think, I wouldn't take any of it seriously at all. And then through her, from the time about when she was like 3 or 4 really started. When she likes a song, there's something good to it usually, and I follow her taste a lot.
Nice.
She doesn't have bad taste, I can see her latch onto a song really early, and I'm like, this is gonna be a big song.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, she's really into 90s stuff too. Fresh Prince is the newest one. This week, literally. She watched the whole first season very quickly. 90s and 80s stuff. Yeah, she loves it all. And geez, I don't know. Why don't you go, Esteban, and I'll see kind of what jogs my mind here, because this is the type of thing I could talk about for a whole show.
Sure.
Word. With my boys, I have 3 boys. We are very influential on each other. My wife made it a thing early on that we had to develop their taste level in music, because we were just not going to listen to certain things in my household.
Yeah.
And my wife and I have 2 very different tastes in music. She's a Portishead, like Radiohead type of girl, and I am a hip hop, NWA, Wu-Tang type of guy. So already our music tastes are everywhere, but it was important that we imparted in them what good music was before they got, the garbage that they're peddling on TV. So, that was immediately, like, we were playing Michael Jackson, we were playing soul music, we were playing a lot of salsa. We had Salsa Sunday because I'm Puerto Rican. We would play a lot of salsa music. They got that rhythm, and they understood that there's congas in my crib. And of course we would play hip hop, and then they just immediately gravitated toward the hip hop more than anything. So much so that they're like a rap group now. My middle son is a rapper, my oldest son is a producer, and the youngest one is the hype man. And so they get it, and that's like an old school traditional thing. Like, you'd have a DJ, you'd have an MC, you have a hype man. So like, they get it. And then their influence on me, I never in a million years paid any attention to any electronic music that sound like a dial-up AOL modem. Like, that was bullshit to me.
Yeah.
But they played me a lot of stuff, and then I eventually started to find the value in it. And one of the groups that they really put me on to, something that I love like crazy, I'm pissed that they won't make any music anymore, is Swedish House Mafia. Swedish House was like, that album was amazing. We played at pretty much every car ride for like a year. I got to see them at Coachella.
Yeah.
We took my middle son to Lollapalooza last year for his birthday, so he could see Skrillex. Like, I wanted to see Skrillex play. That's all I want to do. And like, those things had become like ours. Like, oh, Skrillex is here, let's go see him, or let's fly to Chicago and go check him out. So those types of things, they've influenced. I'm listening to EDM and crap, and they're listening to Wu-Tang and stuff.
You know what's funny? The Michael Jackson thing, my kid, Gianna, she, for the last 2 weeks, like, she just came home one day, and she was just like, Michael Jackson, everything.
Yeah.
She's like, do you know about Remember the Time? I'm like, do you know about Remember the Time? Like, what? And like, dude, like, it's just crazy how his music is just so timeless.
It's so
It's
timeless.
ridiculous.
And you think about it, like, he was a child.
Yeah.
In his mind.
He's always been a huge like titan for Kayla, definitely, and also, he was dead when she was very young, and he's like the reason that every older or pretty much any artist who she doesn't know is current, she's like, is this person dead or not? She always wants to know.
Yeah, my kid's like that too.
And also, we went for a road trip in December for some holiday stuff, and I was like, let's go to the record store and each get a CD for the road, because we only have a CD player now. We can't do the aux cord in our new car. And she picked Thriller.
Nice.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm like, she's going to go for that Justin Bieber maybe, or something else interesting. Nope. She was like, I'm going to get Bad or Thriller. I know more songs than Thriller. I'm going to get this.
I got a game for you guys. And whoever's listening, you can play this too. So my wife and I, whenever we take a long car ride, now that we have Spotify and we have the aux cord, we play a game called Classics. So everyone in the car gets to play a record in like order. We'll go in order and around, and it has to be a classic record. It can't be like the new hotness. It's got to be a record that's like ignorant dope. So like, I'll play, like a Roots Pass the Popcorn record. My wife will play some weird stuff that she likes, and then my son will play like Jingle Bells. Like it gotta be classic.
Wow.
Like he's like, I don't know when he old. I'm like, it's not old, it's classic.
Cool.
Play the classic stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a fun game just to kind of gauge what, because now it's like, oh, I'm next. What am I gonna play?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm
we
saying?
passed it around too, a dude like the cue, but there's no rule to it, except there's kind of the unspoken rule, and in our house too, because music is always playing, of like, just don't fuck up the flow. You know, like I'm
kill
very
my
serious
vibe.
about the mood and about the
feel
order,
you
and just
on that.
just DJing at the house, pretty much DJing in
you.
the car, and everybody in the family has a pretty good sensibility with it too. But I will say, and we'll move on from this, reading Harry Potter, my wife and my daughter and I together, was an amazing
cool.
experience. Amazing, because
Word.
we both grew up loving it, and there's kind of this rule, and I don't know if I agree with it, that your kid should be reading books about kids their age. It's often like a good way to gauge what's their level. And Harry Potter starts when he's 11, and we started reading it when she was 8. And
Really, I never heard about that.
yeah, I don't know how.
We don't follow that
It's
rule.
definitely
Me
a
neither.
thing. I don't follow it either, but I don't know.
I think it's just good to read with your
Right.
kid. Like we have a
Yeah.
book club night too, where we'll pass the book around and each read a page or whatever. But that it's something always kid oriented. But we don't give a crap how old. My youngest is 5. My oldest is 12. We're all reading the same book.
That's right.
Like we sit around and watch Flash, Arrow, and all that good stuff. Like
Yeah.
me, my wife, and my daughter. But then she also has such. When I come home every Wednesday with my weekly comic pull, she's like, "What you get today? Let's see." And like, she doesn't read them.
Yeah.
Because she's not that into it. But she'll look at the cover and then she'll be like, "Let me know what happened." So I'll give her the gist of what
Give me
happened.
a book report.
And she'll remember, and then and she's like so super interested
Yeah.
in those characters, and that she just melts my heart, because to see your kid be interested in something that you're interested
Word.
without you making them be interested in it is awesome. So yeah, that's
love.
all right, enjoy. Peyton Manning, the sheriff. I never even knew you call him the sheriff.
I never in my life heard him
Right?
called
Everybody's
the
like talking
sheriff.
about the sheriff, and I'm like, when the hell did this start?
Right.
I just
Who
wanna
shot
call
the sheriff?
Peyton.
What?
I mean, we'll do this fairly quick, because, I'm more of the Eli, part of
I
the
hate Eli
Manning family.
Peyton Manning, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest regular season quarterback of all time,
I agree with that statement.
is retiring from the NFL.
Oh, retired now. He retired.
Well, he's
officially.
retired now, yeah. I mean, he's, riding off into the sunset with 2 rings, tied with his brother, the dumb Manning,
Yo, man.
Eli.
Leave him alone.
And he wouldn't say at the Super Bowl if it was going to be over, but it
No.
seemed pretty obvious, right?
Yeah.
He was like, I got to go drink some Budweiser and think about it.
Right.
And it
That's
was
what he
obvious,
said.
like, the way the season went, it was like, they were, like,
Oh, yeah, it
you
was
could
tragic.
tell in previous years, like, he was that, he was
He
the
was on point.
integral part of the team's
Right.
success.
Right.
This year, they did well despite his shortcomings. And,
Right.
and I mean, it's not like, it's just, it's the one thing you can't beat, man. You can't beat time. Like,
You can't.
he just, he's put in his years. So, like, it was crazy when I saw he debuted in, like, the late 90s. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, man.
Like, I was in junior high school when this motherfucker came in.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
that's ridiculous.
He's a
but
dinosaur.
he definitely is one of the best to ever do it. The
Ever.
numbers say it. He's won the Super Bowls. And he's always, like, been, there's been spats here and there where he's kind of not displayed the best sportsmanship, but it's very rare. And he's
Right.
always carried himself very professionally. So, like, I had nothing but, good thoughts and good things to say about him. So,
Now, where would you like to see him? Would you like to see him calling games, announcing, or would you like to see him on the sideline coaching something?
I would like to see him doing games, because you could tell if you see his commercials with, like, Papa John and
Right.
like, his skits on SNL, like, the dude
Right.
has charisma, and I think he could definitely. Man, if Troy Aikman could do it after all those concussions, he could call games every Sunday. As much as I'm not his biggest fan,
Right.
Peyton could
I hate Troy
absolutely,
Aikman, too.
Troy Aikman.
go down to Pennsylvania to NFL Films and practice his commentating, and I think he'll do a great job.
I disagree. I want him to go on the field and coach. No one can see a defense like Peyton
That's a good
Manning,
point.
man. He's going to be an offense coordinator somewhere, or a quarterback whisperer somewhere, or something. Like, that man, when he surveys the field from the line of scrimmage and calls his Omahas a million times, you just know he just called us out.
Wow.
We are
But
about
it's
to
crazy,
get
don't you
super
notice, like,
interesting.
some of the
blitzed.
biggest, like, guys never end up being coaches? Like, Michael Jordan never fucking,
because he would just be like, move
No,
over.
but I'm saying,
move
like,
over.
even
I'm
like
gonna
you
do
think
this.
like Ken Griffey Jr. is not gonna be a manager of a Major League Baseball team. Like,
Those are players. Look, those aren't coaches on the court. Those are actual players.
I mean, Jordan was the coach on the court.
Jordan was more of an assistant coach.
I feel like the ones that end up being coaches are the ones that weren't that
great.
I mean, that's kind of shitty to say.
No, it's true.
But like, I have an appreciation for, like, for example, like Mark Jackson, Steve Kerr. Like, without those two players, the teams they played on would not be as successful as they were.
Right, but they weren't stars.
The great superstars of those teams.
Agreed.
But they're great coaches, especially Kerr. Like, look what he's doing with what he did with Golden State, and they're currently.
No, Mark Jackson did that.
Well, he did it the first year, but Steve Kerr carried the rest of it out. But like, that's the point I make. You never see like Joe Montana, one of the greatest quarterbacks that ever played the game. He never coached.
He's got a pocket full of quarters, though.
Oh, well, yeah, that's, suffice to say. But, like, that's just something I always know. I'm like,
no, I feel you on that.
Those great players never really become coaches.
You're right. I mean, John Madden is one. He's considered one of the greatest coaches ever, and he was a horrible football career.
Wait, who's that? Oh, Madden?
John Madden,
oh,
yeah. He was a bum. Anyway, that will do it for this episode of the Back of the Class podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. The Sirens is taking us out. The Popo is coming to shut down.
That New York soundtrack.
iTunes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yo.
Check us out every Thursday.
If you gotten to this point in our podcast, then you love it. And if you do, then rate and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. It helps us out tremendously. So
and our self-esteem.
Yeah, it does wonders for our self-esteem.
And then it will just pop up for you on Thursday.
Yeah, then
Thursday
you just
about
get it
lunchtime.
all the time.
You snack.
Yeah. And if you guys have stuff that you would like to hear us discuss or talk about, like we did today, hit us up on Twitter. We are always on our Twitter. I'm at Juan Con Queso, JUANCONQUEZO. I always have to close my eyes and make sure I don't fuck that up. Hit me up if you hate me, if you love me, or if you just want to, hit us up with something to talk about.
Word. If you just want to send a shout in the middle of the dark to know someone who's never going to respond to you, hit up Juan. If not, you can hit me up at Esteban Serrano on Twitter. And Zach is...
And Zach Dionne with an H and 2 N's.
Yeah. Shout out to thank you for Bushra for sending that question.
Yeah, thank you.
We appreciate you listening and sending us that.
What are you guys going to listen to this weekend, real quick? Just the name.
You know what? You guys might have convinced me to listen to that Kendrick shit.
All right.
I'm listening to this bass. I'm going to stay on the Bossy bass or whatever the heck name.
I'm going to check out Esperanza Spalding.
All right. New stuff.
She's great.
Cool. I don't know who that is, but let me know how that goes.
You're going to know after I listen to her this weekend.
That's right.
Peace.
Bye.
Peace.